Hello everyone. My name is Elena Dobre. I'm a PhD candidate in UBC at ECE. And we are here for our fifth installment of the Lightning Talks for a panel discussion on going on internships during grad school. And I would like to first give a shout out to my three other partners in crime, Ilhami and Yanan, who I think she's not here yet. Ilhami and Yanan are ECE alumni. They did their PhD in ECE. And Yan, who is probably not here, who is a PhD candidate in ECE as well. I would like to introduce a little bit our speakers, our panelists for today. We have Lina Kiu, who is a software developer at Google in Montreal, Gautam Prasad, who is a 5G research engineer at Ofino in Washington, and Thomas Siskakis, who is an electrical engineer in training and at Enersys. I would like to start the panel by asking our panelists to introduce themselves, and then we can jump right into the questions. Who wants to start?
I can go. So I'm Gautam. Yeah, thanks Elena for organizing this, and thanks also for the introduction. So I'm Gautam. I graduated from UBC in 2019 with a PhD in electrical engineering under Professor Lampi. And I also did my postdoc under him for a couple of years after that. So yeah, it's been a long time in Vancouver. So I then joined Ofino. Ofino is a research lab in Washington, DC. So we work on standardization and research and optimization of 5G and 6G technologies. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. And yeah, glad to meet you all, and thanks for having me, Elena.
Thanks, Gautam.
I can go next. So hi everyone, my name is Lina, and I did my master's study at UBC starting in 2015, and I graduated 2018. Now, as Elena said, that I'm working at Google Montreal here. So I'm in a team called Safe Browsing, and my work is mostly about helping people to fight abuse, and mainly focusing on mobile specifically for my part. And while I was at UBC, the research that I have been doing was also kind of mobile related or Android related specifically. So I did actually like two projects. One is about like understanding how smartphone Android users interact with the authentication system. Another one is about analyzing tools that's trying to detect malicious apps on Android, trying to compile different static text analysis tools for Android applications. So that was mostly my experience. And yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Lina. Nice to meet you too. Thomas?
Sure, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Tomas. I graduated earlier this year in Martin Ordonez's Power Electronics Lab. And my research mainly focused on control for small wind turbines. And now I'm working as a firmware engineer for Enersys. We mainly do power systems for telecommunications. We're working on a 5G powering kind of device right now. And yeah, I had an internship at Tesla during my master's, so I'm sure we'll get into all of our. Nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you too. Thomas, I think your video is frozen.
Okay, 1 second.
I think we can wait for about a minute until we start with the main panel questions. Is it only on my end, or do you guys also see Thomas's screen frozen?
He's frozen for me as well.
Same
Okay.
here.
Actually, we can like start the first question and let Gautam and Lena have their talk, and then when Thomas joins again, we can repeat the question, or
Okay.
at least the first one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. So Thomas is here. Okay. Okay. So we can start. No worries. We can start our main panel questions right now. I have a few questions prepared, and afterwards we will have Q&A. So my first question for you guys today is about your overall experience going on an internship or internships if you did more than one. Just tell us about your internship experience during your master's or PhD, and you can touch on a few points. I can give you a little bit of a guideline. For instance, I think the main important question is, why did you decide to go on an internship? How supportive was your supervisor and supervisory committee about your decision to do an internship? Where and how you found the internship opportunity, and how did you settle down? How did you decide on a timeline of your grad studies that would accommodate said internship or internships? I think, Dina, you can start.
Sure, I can start. So for me, I did an internship in 2017 from September to December at Scotiabank Digital Factory in Toronto. So that was my only internship during my grad school. But before that, I actually tried to apply for internship in 2016 as well, kind of right after I joined ECE for my grad study. So in terms of like how supportive my supervisor was, I was very lucky because my supervisor was actually kind of like very supportive. So he was actually the one encouraging me to apply for internship when I first joined. So I kind of tried to apply in 2016, but I wasn't able to get an internship at the time because I wasn't really well prepared. And then I sort of kind of like gave up in 2016 and I decided to focus on my study and research first, because that was like my first year coming in Canada and then study in a different country. So I sort of like postponed my internship plan. And then in 2017, when I was like doing the research, when I was about to finish my research project, and then I got like introduction from my supervisor so my supervisor told me that he had like a contact from Scotiabank and then telling him that they are looking for like an intern, and he was kind of like, hey Lina, do you want to try? So I was like, yeah, that would be great. So that was like kind of how I got the internship opportunity. So I said yes, and then I think I did an interview with them, but not really like a technical algorithm interview, but more like just like learn about each other, the background and stuff, because the connection was more like from my supervisor side. So I was kind of lucky for that perspective. And then because I was like a grad school at UBC, right? So I didn't have like the right work permit. So in the end, I also had to kind of like go to the grad office to figure out the co-op work permit in order to allow me to do the internship. So that was kind of like the whole internship experience, how I got the internship opportunity, and then how supportive my supervisor was. So to conclude, my supervisor was very supportive, and I actually got the internship opportunity because of him. And then in terms of the actual internship experience, what I did during the internship, so I was in a team called DevOps. So what does DevOps team do? Their job mainly is about like maintaining a bunch of like pipelines to help the company to like do metrics collection or monitoring other jobs that's running for from other teams. So they're more like, I don't know if I can use like SRE, like reliability engineer, to describe them, but sort of like kind of close. But my job during time was actually not really very relevant to their day job. So my internship project was actually sort of research oriented. So I was trying to figure out a way to write a tool to scrape all their like internal website or like their code base to figure out if they have any information leaked accidentally, like passwords or like just account name, all this sort of information. So it was not really related to their like the DevOps team's day job, and sort of kind of research oriented. And I had to kind of work on my own, figuring out how to use a library myself and then design the tool, etc. So that was the internship itself. Sorry, I forgot what's the other question.
Thanks a lot. Actually, you answered a little bit from the second question, from my next question to you.
Okay.
But my other sub-question to the first question was, how did you decide on a timeline and how long was your internship? So you did your internship after your second year of grad school. How long was it? And afterwards, did you come back to your lab and defend it, or?
Sure. So I went for the internship before my defense. I was like about to finish my research. I think I actually finished my research and I had the paper submitted for a conference, but not approved, not accepted yet. I think it was like around time when I started my internship, I was like wrapping up the paper and then submit it and then wait for results. And then during the internship, I was waiting for the results. So the internship itself was 3 or 4 months. It was from December, beginning of September till December, the end of December. So I think 9, 10, 4 months, like a little bit less than 4 months. So the timeline wise, it was, I don't think that I actually made the decision myself, because it was like kind of like all like opportunity that I accidentally got from my supervisor, right? So it was kind of like still kind of because I was lucky, and while I was almost done with my research, and then my supervisor had like great opportunity for like internship, and that kind of aligned very well with all my like research work and all this. So, and then after I finished my internship, I went back to UBC to finish my paper, my thesis, and then did the defense like in 2018 May.
Interesting. Thank you. It seemed that it aligned very well with your program.
Yeah, exactly. Overall, I was super lucky with like everything.
Okay, thank you, Lina. We can move on to Thomas. I think I can repeat just an overview of the question for you. So we want to know what was your overall internship experience in terms of why did you take this decision, how supportive your supervisor was, how did you find your internship opportunity, and how did you decide on a timeline that aligns the internship with your grad studies?
Yeah, for sure. I also similar situation. I was just kind of near the end of my master's degree. I had completed a conference paper and was working on a transactions paper. And then one of the members in the lab kind of reached out and was asking around to see if anyone was interested in doing an internship down in the States at Tesla. And then I spoke with my supervisor. He was happy with kind of the progress and thought that would be a good opportunity to jump down there for just a brief 4 or 5 months near the end of my degree. I ended up working in the energy systems division, kind of working on the firmware and controls for the inverter that's used in some of their products. So in terms of supervisor support, like that was definitely a big one. And then also coordinating timelines. It just kind of worked out nicely in a sense that it was near the end of the degree. Obviously, that meant that I had to come back and defend my thesis and submit my thesis and all that kind of stuff. But the timing itself actually worked out quite well as well. So yeah, that was great. I think that's all the questions.
So to summarize, you did your internship also in your 3rd year of your master's, right after your research was almost wrapped up, and then you came back and defended your thesis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a bit of a kind of crazy, not crazy, but it was during COVID. So I like basically March rolled around when all the lockdowns happened, and I was kind of midway through my internship. So I actually packed up and went back to Vancouver, finished my internship in Vancouver, and then kind of completed everything remotely. But yeah, that was the timeline. I don't think anything would have actually changed if COVID didn't happen. So yeah, I was fortunate to complete everything on a similar timeline that I had anticipated prior to starting the internship.
That worked out great then. Okay. Thank you, Thomas. And the last speaker, Gautam.
Yeah, so I had 2 internships. So one during my master's and one during my PhD. And the 2 were completely different experiences, different reasons for doing it, and different experiences and how I got approached and all of that. So maybe I'll start with my master's internship. So I did my master's at the University of Florida, and I did my internship in Qualcomm. So that was after my first year. So it was during the summer after my first year. So between my first and second year. So in terms of timeline, that fit perfectly because it was a summer internship. So I did it during my summer semester. So there was no issues with timeline. And of course, I was just getting started with my thesis because the first 2 semesters are course heavy. So you don't get to work much on your thesis. So I knew what my problem statement was and what I would be working on, but I hadn't really jumped into it too much. So that was when I did my internship. And so the way I found the internship was everything was the standard way in which you find a job or an internship. So there were so Qualcomm came to my university with I don't know what it's called. So they give a talk and collect resumes. There's a term for it. It's just
career day, something like
so
that. Career day or career event, career fair.
Yeah, sort of like a career fair, but it was, I mean, there are all companies in a career fair, but this was just Qualcomm who came and gave a talk and tried to recruit interns. So I just handed over my resume along with many others, and eventually got picked. So yeah, the interview process was a little hard because you have a written interview, and then you have a telephone interview, and then you have a day-long on-site interview, which is quite intensive. I felt which is quite intensive for just an internship, but the reason they do that is because they hire you with an intention of converting your internship into full-time, which is what happened to me. Of course, I didn't take the full-time job because I came here for PhD, but that's the reason why they have a very stringent interview process. Yeah, so yeah, that's how I got it. And the reason why I did the internship was because I wanted to make sure that that is not something that I want to do, because I mean, I had started my thesis, so there was always like, there's no point. I felt that there's no point continuing with the thesis and grinding it out if I eventually wanted to get into the industry right away, because at least at that level, at least at Qualcomm, they didn't care about whether you did an internship, a thesis-based master's or a course-based master's, like how we have engineering and MASc, and in UBC we had at Florida we had something called MS thesis and MS course-based. So Qualcomm didn't really care about what kind of master's you did. So I just wanted to make sure that I choose the right path. So that's pretty much why I did my internship. I mean, it was challenging, and I enjoyed the work there as well. But at the end of the internship, I sort of realized that that's not what I wanted to do, and research was what I wanted to pursue. So yeah, so at the end of the internship, I had to decline their offer and then do my thesis, and then come here for PhD. My internship during my PhD was a completely different ballgame, because I didn't apply for the internship. I didn't do anything of that sort. So so the way I got the internship was that I went to a conference where I was presenting my paper, and one of the heads of the team at the company where I did my internship, it's called Devolo in Germany. So the head of their smart grid team of Devolo was also at the presentation where I presented my paper. So that's how he got to know about my work, and they were sort of interested in the work that we were doing, and they approached me and said, do you want to collaborate on this work? We can do it in terms of an internship. And we also collaborated with another university in Germany. It's called University of Duisburg-Essen, where we did some measurements and like practical stuff, hands-on work there. And we did some technology development back in Devolo, and yeah, that's how I got my internship and did my internship there. In terms of timeline, it was very straightforward for PhD, but it was it was very straightforward during my master's, but it was a little tricky during my PhD because it was not, like I said, it's not a standard internship. So we wanted to do work on this topic for a longer duration of time. I didn't want to do a short 2 or 3 month internship, so we did close to 6 or 7 month internship was what I did during my PhD. And by then I had completed my research work, and I'd started a new project with new team members in our group, and it fit perfectly right in there. So yeah, after I came back from my internship, we had to wrap up a few things, few loose ends with the project, and once I did that, I graduated. That's my story.
Interesting. I'm curious to know if you had really liked the internship that you did in Qualcomm during your master's. Would you have converted it into non-thesis based master's, of course, work master's, and there would be no PhD? Would that be the path that you would have taken?
Could have happened. I mean, it's more that research was more my calling than the fact that I didn't like the work there. I think I did enjoy, like I said, it was challenging, and I did enjoy the work that I did there. But I mean, I guess corporate culture was not something that I wanted to get in when I was 23, I guess. So yeah, I thought research was probably a better option. And I guess in hindsight, I think I made the right choice.
That's pretty cool. You didn't tell us how supportive your two supervisors were. So during your master's and during your PhD.
Yeah, I mean, during my master's, my supervisor didn't, I mean, he was really supportive, but he didn't really have much say, right? Because it was a summer semester and you're expected to take break during your summer semesters, or at least your course load and your workload is supposed to be reduced during your summer semester. So he was, of course, he was completely supportive. I mean, he even gave me a recommendation letter and everything. So he was totally supportive. And also because it didn't interfere much with my research work, I guess there wasn't too much for him to decide either. I mean, it was an easy yes for him. But during my PhD, of course, my supervisor during my PhD was, I mean, instrumental in for me having done this work, because he not only was okay with it, and he not only supported it, but he was the one who actually introduced me to the like I said, to the head of Devolo there. So like I said, when I met him at the conference, my supervisor was also there with me at the conference. So it was right from the beginning, he was there, he was involved with the process, and he knew where things were going, and he wanted me to continue this because he thought it's important both for me and for the project as well, and people working on the project back in UBC as well. So I think it worked out well, and both supervisors were really supportive. And I think that's really important to have a supportive supervisor, because if your supervisor is like, I don't know, because he, in the end, at least for PhD, I don't know how much it is for masters, but at least for PhD, everything is in the hands of your supervisor, right? Because he can easily kill your program. I mean, most sane supervisors don't do that, but yeah, it's really important to have the support and his or her support. And in my case, I did have the support.
That's true. And I mean, your experience is right in line with Lina's and Tomas's experience as well. All your supervisors supported this, so that aligned perfectly with your career goals. We can move on to the second question now. And I think I would like to introduce a small sub-question to this, because some of you, if not all of you, touched on the activities you did during your internship. So my main second question would be, what were the activities you were doing, and more specifically, if there was an overlap in the work that you did during your internships with the research that you were doing during your grad school, and if there wasn't any overlap, which one of the works, either the work you did during your internship or the research work, was more fitting for your long-term career goals. And my sub-question to this, which is not really related, but I think many of our attendees today would like to find out a bit on the administrative side. How did you manage to get past study permits, restrictions, and so forth? If you can touch on that, if you had to get past those restrictions, and what program you went through and so forth. I know that you, Gautam, went through MyTax. I think we can start with Thomas.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, twofold questions there. So in terms of the actual work that I was doing, my master's thesis and my master's research focused on kind of control for power electronics, specifically for small wind turbines. So there's a lot of firmware development. There's also hardware design, there's simulation. So it kind of touches on a lot of aspects. And the work that I did at Tesla was very similar. It was definitely in the same genre. The actual application was a little bit different. So still developing firmware, working with test infrastructure. I think a lot of what I did at Tesla was kind of a more formalized approach to firmware development as opposed to what I was doing for my master's. And then also I touched base on some simulation and control algorithm development at Tesla as well, which my research lended itself quite nicely to. So there's a lot of overlap in terms of like the skills required to do the work, even if the actual application was a little bit different. And so I guess because there's a lot of overlap, it kind of lended itself quite well to the work that I'm doing now. So I'm a firmware engineer at Internships. A lot of what I learned at Tesla about best practices for firmware development, test infrastructure, how to actually write good code for manufacturing and stuff like that. That really played that really helped in understanding what kind of that should look like. And so I've been able to kind of bring that to my current job. It helped me get in the door, and also it's helped me kind of improve the practices at the office that I'm at right now. Yeah, so a lot of overlap, and I'm really glad that I did it because it was something that it's kind of shaped my career path, I think. And being able to see how it's done at a Fortune 500 company was obviously also a huge plus. In terms of navigating the I guess US work permit process, to be honest, Tesla was really good about taking care of all of that. They have a pretty substantial internship workforce that come from all over the world. They have a lot of students that come from Canada, so they're very well equipped to deal with all of that. I basically had to send them a few documents, sign a few forms, and their immigration lawyers took care of the rest. I'm a Canadian citizen, so that also, I'm not too sure what the process would look like for someone else that might be coming from elsewhere. But for my specific case, there was really no issues. It was just more of it required a few months of planning. So having them take the brunt of the work was really great. I think it would have been a lot different if I had to do the process myself.
Interesting. I think that the fact that you are a Canadian citizen did help and did facilitate the process.
Oh, absolutely. I think so as well.
Thank you, Thomas. We can continue with Lina.
Sure. So for me, the overlap between the internship project and my research project was actually not much. So for my research, what I did was mainly about like Android related, like trying to understand how Android users interact with their authentication system, and then analyzing like 10 analysis tools, comparing them how they how good they do in finding malicious apps. So all those are kind of like Android related. And then for my internship project, what I did was like trying to find a way to look into the code base, their internal code base, to find if they have any like information leaked. So that was like more like web related or focused. And I mean, if we have to find like overlap, they have an overlap in the sense of like all of them are security related, but except that, like in addition to that, they're not really like much overlap. Then in terms of like how, like which one helps me to kind of more in my career now, I would say will be actually all my research that I did in UBC, because those research that I did was like mainly like Android related, and then the job that I got here in Google was also kind of like Android related. So the position that I was interviewed for was not really like advertised as, oh, we want an Android developer or like that. It was like general software engineer. But the team that I was matched to, they were, from what I heard after I joined, they were actually, so they just started like a new team and trying to do like anti-abuse detection, right? And they were actually looking for someone who will be able to do like some Android related work. So I kind of fit in very well in that perspective, because I did like a lot of Android related stuff, and then I also came from the security background. So that kind of aligned very well. So I would say my research experience at UBC helped me a lot in terms of like helping me to secure a job here at Google Montreal. And then for how did I navigate the work permit issue, I touched base a bit on this previously. So I had to go through the co-op program because I was an international student and I was under like study permit. And I think with study permit, you are not allowed to work like full-time as an intern in Canada. So the solution that I got at the time was I think also for graduate students, if you are research-based or see this MASC, naturally, you were not allowed to register for the co-op program, but the MENG students, they are, I think. So for me, I had to go to the graduate office to talk to the advisor there and then ask them to kind of give me an exception to let me register for the co-op program and then kind of help me to get the co-op work permit. So I was able to get that. I think mainly was because I had the support from my supervisor, and I also already kind of have the job offer from the Scotiabank company. So that was really just like a convenient for like the office to give me like a permit. So yeah, that was like how I was able to get the right to work for the internship.
Interesting. So this is how it's done. I always thought that co-op is not available to MACs or PhDs, but I think they are willing to make exceptions whenever needed.
Yeah, exactly. So I was actually worried that I won't be able to do the internship in the end because the work permit issue. But then like I tried like some extra steps and then tried to talk to them, and in the end they were actually okay to give you like exception. But in general, they were like, no, research-based students like MSc, PhD shouldn't register for co-op. I guess the lesson learned here will be like, if you are able to find like an internship job, like get an offer in Canada and then your supervisor are supportive, then worth to give a try.
Thanks, Lina. We can continue with Gautam.
Yeah, so and maybe I'll answer the second question first. So during my master's, the internship that I did, I mean, I didn't have an issue with visas or anything because I was already there. And students there are allowed in the US. If you're a student on, I mean, it doesn't matter what your immigration status is. If you're a student, you can do an internship in the US. So unlike Canada and in the US, it's easier to do an internship if you're already a student there. Of course, if you're a student in Canada and you're an international student, then I don't know, good luck with that. I guess that's much harder. For the PhD, the internship that I did was in Germany. So I didn't have any issues with, I mean, there is a visa called an internship visa in Germany. So it's quite straightforward there to get that. But the issue was not with Germany though. For me, the issue was with Canada, because if you're if you're going away for more than 6 months, then there are a lot of things to take care of back home here in Canada. Like, for example, what's your tax status? What happens to your MSP? What happens to your other things like phone plans and all of that? So you need to take care of things here if you're going out of country for more than 6 months. So for me, that was something that I needed to take care of, but it worked out fine. I mean, there are always exceptions to everything, but like Lena just said, you get an exception. I had to jump through hoops to get those exceptions as well. Yeah, in terms of overlap, yeah, the internship that I did during my master's had no or little overlap with my research. But that was the purpose of doing my internship for me. So I just wanted, like I said, to figure out which path I wanted to take. But the internship during my PhD was completely in line with the research that I was doing. Again, like I said, it was sort of a continuation of one of the papers that I presented. So we literally published papers out of the work that we did, and we still, even to this day, continue to use the results that we got from my work during the internship. So that was completely in line with what we were doing here back home in UBC. So yeah, that's my story there.
Interesting. And you went through NSERC, right, for your internship during your PhD?
I went through
MyTax.
Yeah,
MyTax.
I went through MyTax Global Link. So yeah, I mean that's something that probably everybody here should probably take a look at, because it's one of a kind opportunity that students in Canada get. So I think we should all make the best use of it.
How was the process of applying for the internship visa in Germany? Was it smooth?
Everything, the paperwork part is very straightforward, but back then in 2018, there was only one embassy or one consulate in Canada which gave out internship visa, which was in Toronto. So I had to fly all the way to Toronto just to get my visa. So that was the only pain for me. But I guess now the process is simplified. I guess now you also have the German consulate in Vancouver give out internship visa. I'm not really sure about that. You'll have to double check. But back then, at least in 2018, I had to fly all the way to Toronto to get the visa. That was the only stuff. That was the toughest part of the whole process, because everything else was very straightforward. I mean, there are a lot of restrictions or a lot of conditions that you need to meet to get the internship visa in Germany. Like, you need to have a minimum salary, you need to have research program support and support from multiple letters from the company and from your supervisor and all of that. But like I said, my supervisor was very supportive of that, and also he happens to be a German, so he knew the ins and outs of the process, so it was way easier for me because of his support.
Great, thanks, Gautam. We can move on to our third question, and this is about the life after the internship. So I would like to ask you all, how did the experience you gained during your internship or internships help you with your research or with finding your full-time job after graduate school? And we can start with Gautam.
Yeah, so the internship during my master's, well, the good news is that I got a job offer from both the internships that I did. But the bad news is I declined both the offers for different reasons. So it definitely helps you in getting a job. So doing an internship is, if your aim is to get a good industry job after you graduate, I think doing an internship is going to be really beneficial. Either converting your internship to the full-time job itself, to a full-time job there, or using that experience to boost your profile to get a good job after you graduate. So in my case, the experience really helped me, not necessarily to get a job after graduation, but in the case of my master's internship, it helped me get a better picture of what I wanted to do in the future. And my PhD internship helped me in exploring fields and opportunities that I wouldn't have got if I had just continued with academic research. So collaborating with different universities and the internship during my PhD gave me an experience to bring my research that I do during my PhD into real world product. So how to commercialize your research is something that I got to learn during my PhD internship, and that was really beneficial. It didn't really help me get the job that I have right now, but I think that experience was really helpful.
And you got a job offer after the internship during your PhD as well.
Yeah, I would have taken the job if it was not in Germany. I didn't want to relocate to Germany.
Okay, thank you, Gautam. We can continue with Thomas.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of mirror a lot of the sentiments that Gautam mentioned. So yeah, I'm a big proponent for internships during near the later stages of either your master's or your PhD. It's a great way to kind of leverage your network while you're still in the program. Your supervisors typically know a lot of people. Other PhD or master's students in the lab will also know a lot of people, typically in the industry that you would most likely be wanting to work in. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to kind of, put a few lines out there and see if there's any bites. In terms of the actual, I think I kind of touched on this before. The work that I completed at Tesla was basically the exact same work that I was trying to get into, same industry that I was trying to get into as well. So I met a lot of people, and a lot of those people ended up being key figures in me securing the job after graduation. I also agree that internships are typically a very long format interview for a full-time position. So it gives it's a very low risk way for companies to kind of vet an individual and determine if there's someone that they want to hire full-time. And so, I really do suggest doing that if it is your desire to jump into industry. Obviously, some people will want to maybe pursue a research route, and that's totally fine too. And it's also a way to kind of, like Gautam did, do a bit of both while you're doing your degree. So I'd say that internships, great opportunity. It really helped me secure a position. And then I think that everyone should go ahead and try to do one during your degree.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. We can move on to Lina.
Yeah, sure. So for me, sorry, I forgot the question. The question was how the internship experience helping me find a job afterwards, right?
Yes, exactly.
What was another question? There was like two questions.
Just this one, just
Okay.
post internship.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So in my case, I actually found like my research experience helped me more for finding a job afterwards. But the internship does help as well. It can also help you to like at least have a backup like offer. Because in my case, I also got like a return offer from Scotiabank, but I decided to not go for that for some reasons. But so to summarize, it will be like if you go for internship and then you do what like normally we do well, and then very high likely that you will get like a return offer, so that can save you like a lot of stress in terms of like finding a job after graduation. And then in terms of like how helpful it is for like finding a full-time job afterwards, I would say it definitely helped, because I kind of can add that to my resume, right? And then companies always love to see like internship experience. So I actually helped like UBC students to do some like career consult on like how to find an internship like a few weeks ago. So what I learned from that was like, yes, companies does like internship experience. If you have like a hands-on experience, you can put on your resume, even when you like looking for internship, that would be very helpful as well. So that's the like same applies to full-time job. But then for full-time job, I have something actually that I want to mention here. So my full-time job was actually also like a connection from my supervisor. So I would say, well, it's very important to have like a good relationship with your supervisor, or at least let them know what your plans are. Because when I was doing my master's study at UBC, like originally I was thinking, oh, do I want to do a PhD after or not? Or I want to do like an industry job after. So my supervisor actually asked me if I want to continue for PhD with him, and I was like, maybe I want to try some like industry job first before actually diving into like a research track. So I kind of let him know that, hey, yeah, I want to do like full-time job, look for a job in industry. And then that, I think that kind of helped, because then he kind of reached back out to me when there was like some like roles like Googler contacted him, telling him, hey, like on my team, like a security team is kind of like looking for like new people who are doing like security related stuff. So they were asking, do you have any students that you recommend? So my supervisor kind of forwarded me that email and that encouraged me to apply. So I guess the connection here, or the thing that I want to point out here, is kind of like, if you do plan to look for like an industry job afterwards, maybe it's helpful to let your supervisor know as well, because like, you know, like supervisors always have connections, not just in academia, but also in industry. So if they know there are people who are looking to hire people, and then they know you are looking for a job, oftentimes I think they would love to connect you with those connects that they know. So that would be like the thing that's helpful. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Lina. So it seems that connections really do matter, and having a good relationship with your supervisor matters as well to just make your path a bit smoother post-graduation. I think these are all the questions. I do have a fourth question about the takeaways, or some pieces of advice you guys would give to all attendees tonight. But before that, I'd like to open up for Q&A. You can just unmute yourself and shoot your question to our three panelists.
I have a question to Gautam. So you mentioned you went for internship in Germany. That's for more than 6 months. So I wonder, after you finished your degree here at UBC, you didn't get the work permit, I guess, that we usually get for the international students after the PhD. Because I think there is, you did a leave of absence, I guess, to go to your internship. And then what I heard is that if you did leave of absence for more than 4 or 5 months, you don't get a work permit after the PhD.
Yeah, so I did not do a leave of absence. I was still enrolled in my PhD program, and that's how I went. I did not do a leave of absence, and yeah, that I got my work permit, so it's didn't affect.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, that's a good idea. But
yeah,
there's no problems in doing this.
No, I mean, I guess you'll need to probably double check. This is not advice, but I think you would do leave of absence if you don't want to pay tuition for that semester or term or something. But if you pay and if you're enrolled, I think it should be fine. Again, this is not any immigration advice or anything. Better to double check, but this is what I think. This is how it works.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
I have just a quick question to Gautam, because like we are in the same lab, so it's a little bit specific to our field. First, I'd like to welcome you again. I didn't have a chance before the panel. Great to see you here. And just a question for like because I work in the communications field, how do you see the difference between working in internship in Qualcomm and working in your job right now after the PhD? what kind of the differences you feel? Do you have different attitude towards both? Like you said in Qualcomm, you said, I don't want to do this again, but like here you have a different job. Was those jobs different? How do you compare them, in my opinion? Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
they were. Yeah, great to see you as well after a long time. Yeah, the two jobs were totally different. So the one that I'm doing right now and the internship that I had in Qualcomm were totally different. So in Qualcomm, it was more of like minor modifications to some. The work that I was doing was in algorithm design, which is per se interesting, but it was not a new algorithm design. It was just, that's already there. You do some corner case modifications, optimizations, and all that, which is fine, which is good, but it's challenging. It's nice. If I had that job today, I wouldn't be depressed or sad. I would still be fine. It's just that at that point in time, I thought that working on something that has a bolder vision, where you have a little more freedom and independence, is what I wanted to do back then, and which is what I'm fortunately, which is what I'm doing in my current job right now. So again, now I have the independence. The job that I have right now, the company Ofino, is sort of like a hybrid between a university and a commercial company, because what we do is patent development. So all we do is research and file patents. So that's all we do. So we have a broad range of topics that we work on. So every inventor in our company is free to choose any topic that he or she wants to work on. And you feel stuck, or you get bored, or if the field gets saturated. So for example, like MIMO is done, right? It's almost saturated. There's still work going on, but you might feel that you're not moving forward in the pace that you want to. So you can switch to newer topics. You can switch to ML and AI. You can switch to air computing. You can switch to any non-terrestrial network. So you can switch to any new topic that you want to work on. And we have that flexibility here, which is something that I really enjoyed in both my master's and PhD research programs, and also in my postdoc as well. So I mean, I'm always looking for that flexibility and the freedom to work on things that I enjoy, and that's something that I did not have during my Qualcomm internship, and that's something that I have right now, which makes my job much more enjoyable today.
Thanks a lot, Gautam. Thanks a lot. Great to hear.
I actually have a question for all of you guys, starting with Thomas. What was the work culture at Tesla like? And more specifically, what was the work culture in your team or department? Is it true? Are the rumors true? The rumors that we hear that all of them are workaholics, whatever that means, because that there's actually, I believe that there's no work-life balance in this world. One day you are a better researcher or better at what you are doing for your work. The other day you are a better brother or a better son, and so forth. So I don't believe in work-life balance really. But how is the work culture during your internship, and how is it now at your current job? I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but feel free to share whatever you want.
Sure, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, Tesla located in Silicon Valley. There's a whole TV show kind of dedicated around the culture of that environment. Yeah, it is a little obviously sensationalized, depending on like where you're getting your references from. But I will say that it is a more work than life balance. So they are working on, like I mentioned, they have a huge intern workforce. They're working on kind of limiting intern hours. They were kind of paying overtime, and there's measures put in place to kind of make sure that interns were not overworking themselves. So when I got there, it was obviously you need to work hard and you got to put your hours in, but I think that the team made it very clear that you're not here to grind yourself into the ground. which was very helpful. I mean, you obviously, depending on if if there was something that needed to be done, you stay until you need to, but there was always kind of reimbursement for your extra spent time. But yeah, it is a grind, and obviously you're in the Silicon Valley, so everything's expensive. So that kind of plays into a lot of the decision making around why you want to stay, and if you would want to stay in a situation like that. So great bang for your buck. I don't think it's something that's super sustainable. I don't know many people that typically stay for longer than 3 to 5 years. But I mean, that's the kind of up to the individual. In regards to the work-life balance that I currently have, yeah, it's definitely, I think it's fairly comparable. I obviously have a lot more, I have a friend network here, my family's here, so being able to kind of leverage that has been great. So yeah, you know, you put in your 8 hours at work now, and you kind of are able to go home, disconnect, and yeah, live your life, which is kind of nice. So yeah, it's very different depending on the company, and like you said, like the team. I think managers play a big role in how much work kind of penetrates your life. My managers have been fairly good about kind of creating that separation. So yeah, pretty happy on my end.
Great, thanks for sharing that, Thomas. Lina, what about you? How was the work culture in your internship, and how is it now?
Yeah, so for me, the work culture in Scotiabank Digital Factory was actually quite similar to the work culture that I have here in Google. Because, I mean, what I heard while I was doing the internship was like they were like the whole idea of Scotiabank Digital Factory was trying to mimic the Google culture. So you kind of like have snacks everywhere. I mean, and then lunch, but you sort of still need to pay for your lunch. So it's not like free everything, but they are trying. And then they had like a lot of cool stuff, like cool activities that you can participate after work or during work hours. And then people are very nice and welcome you. Like that's also like a cool thing to have during the internship. So, and I also remember like at the end of my internship, my team kind of brought me out to like a nice restaurant, kind of like a farewell party. So that was kind of like also part of the culture. So people are very friendly and then supportive. And then they, oh yeah, and I also remember they had like a bowling, like a small room for like play bowling. So there was like times like Friday afternoons, we like the whole team will actually go there together and then play bowling together. So that was also kind of nice. So not really like a lot of like a very high work stress. So I would say the work-life balance was all right. And then the whole culture is kind of like they were trying to have a Google similar type of working culture. And then in terms of the actual Google working culture that I have here right now, so it's actually kind of like depend on the team that you are. In general, the work-life balance at Google was great. It's great. So managers are generally very supportive. They don't encourage you to work like after hours, and the working hours are also very flexible. So you can decide when you want to work. So for example, if I have like appointment during the day and I won't be in office, and you can just go and then you don't mark on your calendar to say that you will be out of office. You don't need to get your manager's approval or anything. No, you just go, and then you can decide to do like more hours on the second day, or you do a bit of work in the evening. So the working hours are very flexible. And then people in terms of like the colleagues that you have working here, they are also very friendly. So people like here, like people working on their own, there's not really like a politics anywhere like between engineers. So that's also kind of nice and cool. And then we have like free snacks and drinks everywhere, and then lunch and breakfast. Apparently that's like another amazing part that why a lot of people want to join Google. And also we have like a lot of fun activities to do in the office as well. So like me personally, I was actually on the so we have like in Google Montreal, we have like a internal event committee. So I was actually in the committee trying to help like organize events time by time, for example, for Christmas, or just for like a mid of the year celebration, or like just for people to relax and have fun. So we often like organize all those like type of events like to colleagues in teams so they can try out different things. For example, like flower arrangement or book binding are the two things that I'm trying to organize now. And then we also had like wine tasting and then cheese tasting, all these cool events. So in general, I would say, yeah, work-life balance is great. Nobody will push you to work, even though sometimes you might also have like a lot of work to do, but it's kind of like up to you to decide how you want to, like when do you want to do your work and then how you want to distribute that. Because when you feel like there is too much to do, you can talk to a manager and then, hey, just tell them, hey, I don't think I can finish this by what deadline. And I think this is a bit of too much. And then you can you can talk and then we can do we can plan it again, like try to do some replan to figure out if it's actually more than what you can do, or we should do like a new plan, things like that. So in general, the work-life balance is great here and I'm enjoying it.
Nice. Are you currently working in a hybrid way, or are you on site full time?
Yeah, so because of the pandemic, I'm still working from home. But good news is we are heading back to the to office next Tuesday, but still like volunteer return to office. And then after the pandemic, after the volunteer return to office, we'll be using the hybrid working mode, so people can choose if they want to work fully remotely or they want to work on site for every day, every week, or they want to do like 3 days a week at office and then 2 days at home, etc. Yeah, so right now I'm still like working from home, but next week we are going to heading back to the office.
Okay. Thank you, Lina. Gautam, what about you? How is the work culture in Qualcomm and in Devolo in your internships, and how is it now? I know that research is, we all know that during our grad school, we are grinding a lot.
Yeah, so the 3 work experiences are completely different for me. So in Qualcomm, it was sort of like a standard 9 to 5 kind of a job, and sometimes there were a couple of deadlines that we had, in which cases we had to stay back a little late. But then I actually lived in a city that was 1 hour drive away from where I worked. So I always had that excuse to go back home early. Of course, I didn't use it, but my manager was always cognizant of that, so he never made me stay back too much. So it was a standard job there in Qualcomm. That's all I can say. But in Devolo, it was a huge change for me from what I had here during my PhD. So in PhD how it is, right? Like you work for 13-14 days 13-14 hours a day, and suddenly you go to Qualcomm and then people don't work for more than 7 hours a day there, and it's a strict stop at like 5 o'clock and everybody is gone. So there's actually a fun story there. So it's a true story. So what happened was in Devolo, after 6 p.m. The doors close and you have to use the fob and to enter and exit. That's pretty much how it is in most places. But almost nobody used it at all. So by 6, 5 was when everybody started to leave. By 6, everybody was gone. But I was not used to that at all, because I'm used to staying like till 8:30 or 9 in the lab, right? So the lab is still full when I leave at 8:30 or 9. So that's what I was used to. So I used to stay till like 7:30 or 8, and it was summer as well, so it doesn't get dark outside. So I used to stay till like 7:30 or 8. And then there was a security warning that everybody in our office got, and then they permanently shut down the office. So you couldn't access the office after 6 even with the fob. So they changed the rules because they said it's some security threat that there's a guy who's walking out in and out at such late time. So they had to shut it off, and they gave physical keys to 2 other people. I guess one was the janitor and one was someone else who could like literally use a physical key to enter, and nobody else was allowed to stay at work after 6. So that's a different kind of work-life balance, which I did not like at Devolo. You're not even allowed to work even if you want to. The work that I have right now is is almost like, I guess I would say it's sort of like a professor's job, but without the teaching part, which I guess is sort of a great thing, because so your work never stops, but you don't feel the pressure of that work. So you still work when you want. So you can work where you're half asleep and you suddenly think of a new idea. You can always wake up and work, and yeah, that's sort of the life of a researcher, I guess. So that's how it is right now for me.
Interesting. So you literally changed the rules at Devolo. You flagged that you were flagged out, and
yeah, no
people
joke.
had
So
to.
yeah, that
Oh.
that literally happened, and my manager said, "This is ridiculous. Why are you staying here till 7:30?" And he was like, okay, he was literally scolding me to go back home. And by the time so in Germany, I think you have around 30 days of paid vacation. And because I did my internship for about 7 months or so, I had around 17 or 18 days. And by the time I ended my internship, I had only used about 4 or 5 days. And my manager scolded me for that as well. Like, he's like, "You're wasting 10 days of your paid vacations. Is ridiculous. I've never seen this happen," and all that. I got a good scolding from him for that as well. So it's a whole different work culture, I guess. And I don't know if it is specific to Devolo or it's common everywhere in Germany or in Europe. I don't know how it is, but at least that was my experience there.
I believe it's quite common in Germany and in Western Europe to just delimitate very, very well the work hours and try to make your employees take all their paid vacation days and so forth. Yeah, thank you. Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello everyone. Thanks a lot for all the information you have provided. So I am a Masters of Engineering student at UBC ECE. It's my first term here. I applied to the co-op program, but unfortunately, I could not make it through the final stage. So I wanted to ask that if I now want to do an internship, so what are my options? Because I have heard that companies here, they hire students for internship for full time. But as graduate students, we are only allowed to work for like 20 hours a week. So is there a way around of it, or what possibilities can I look for?
I might be able to add a comment here, but I don't think I will actually be very helpful. So from my own experience, I was also a master's student at UBC, and I wasn't able to register for co-op program at the beginning, but because I was like cities-based. But in the end, what happened to me was like I kind of got a connection from my supervisor and then got the offer, then get the support from the supervisor, and I kind of was able to get an exception here. But I don't know, in your case, maybe it will be hard because you don't have an offer yet. So you're kind of like looking for a way to get a job first. I don't know if it would make sense that you try to get some interviews out of like co-op program, and then once you get the offer, talk to the employers and see if they can help you to get like work permit to let you to work like full-time or not. And then another experience that I had was actually doing like a part-time internship. I forgot to mention, sorry. So I also did like a part-time internship at a company called Tutor Toten in Vancouver downtown. So that was during my master's studies. I was doing my research while doing that internship. So my supervisor was okay for that. So that internship was like part-time. So I was doing like 20 hours a week. I believe with your study permit, you are allowed to do that. So if you cannot bypass the permit stuff to get a full-time internship, maybe it's still worth to try to find like a part-time internship job and then do like a part-time internship. That could also be helpful. Another thing I would recommend to check maybe the MyTech's Global Link program. I don't know how they work specifically, but maybe there's a way that you can figure out to get like a permit support and work. In my own experience, they have been very helpful. When I was still like an undergrad in China, I was able to come to a Canadian university for research internship. So I know they have like a lot of different programs for students, also like both undergrads and graduate students. So it's worth checking their website to see what kind of programs they have and if they have any support for graduate students for internships.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry, you're an MN student?
Yes, I am an MN student.
Okay, so yeah, the situation is a little bit different, right? I mean, with MNs, it's a course-based master's, so you don't have a supervisor, which is kind of like where a lot of our circumstances were coming from. So with an MN, I know I've had some friends in the past that there's, I guess, a couple of different ways you can go about it. Either one is you just kind of blast through and do the courses as fast as you can, and then you kind of look for a job after the fact. I know that that's been, fairly successful for some of my friends. It's kind of more of a resume booster than anything else. And then the other thing that you can look at is definitely MyTax. I think it's a great recommendation from Lena. But I would say, don't be disheartened. The second year is really when you'll have a lot more opportunities to kind of look at potential internships. There's going to be a lot of career fairs. MN is really focused on industry, so there will be industry people from industry coming to different classes, coming to different events put on by ECE. So there's always opportunities there to kind of like look for a part-time internship. I know that most of my friends that have done MN programs end up doing an internship kind of in the summertime, part-time, just kind of in the later stages of their MN degree. So it's definitely not off the table. But I wouldn't be disheartened not finding anything this early and not being accepted into the co-op program or whatever the circumstances were. I would wait till the second year, keep your eyes open for any opportunities. And then as it's been said, there's always exceptions to kind of every rule. So yeah, if you really are hell-bent on doing an internship during your MNs, I think there's opportunities for that. Otherwise, I would just say get it done as fast as you can and then kind of jump into industry after that.
Thanks a lot, Thomas.
I have a quick thing because that's I'm not sure if it's very helpful or not. I didn't do internships before, but I have two things I can think of. The first thing is be open to doing internships outside Canada. That's the first. The second one, if you want to do an internship in Canada, let's say you go to some company, you go through the interview and they select you. I know a case with someone before who did an it's like a gentleman agreement between him and the company. Like they had a part-time contract with part-time payment, but he was working full-time. It doesn't work in your favor in terms of payment, but you got the experience. Like you can claim it. No one in the CV gonna say you work it part-time or full-time, but you gonna still manage to work with the company. You tell them I'm gonna work full-time for you, but on paper contract it has to go part-time, just in case you didn't get any exception of a co-op permit or something like that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Thomas. Thanks a lot, Ahmed, for the suggestion. Yeah, it's a nice one. I can try that.
Okay. Would any of our panelists like to give some concluding remarks about their internship experience and some pieces of advice for our attendees here?
Okay, maybe I can start. So
yeah, sure.
Final thoughts. Yeah, definitely do an internship if you get the opportunity, irrespective of whether you're in your master's, MASc, MEng, PhD. It's definitely helpful. Even if you are bent towards pursuing a career in research, whether it's doing a PhD after your master's or doing a postdoc and trying for a faculty job after your PhD, I think it would still be helpful to spend at least like 3 or 4 months to try and get a feel of what's being done in the industry and see whether it's something that you would maybe enjoy more than what you think you do right now. So I think that if you have the opportunity, definitely do it. If not, I think it's still worth to pursue an opportunity and try to find an internship to it. It's definitely helpful. Like I said, whether you're doing master's, PhD, it's certainly going to help you make better decisions and maybe sort of not repent about not doing one after you graduate. I mean, it can only help you and not hurt you. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Lina, Thomas, any pieces of advice or concluding remarks?
Yeah, the only thing I would kind of say is if you are looking to do an internship, I would say leverage your network as much as possible. 9 times out of 10, most internships aren't really found through job portals. I'll be completely honest, at least in my experience, it's a lot harder to kind of slog through a bunch of applications with kind of limited potential for success. Even though there are obviously, like, you can go through that route and you can be successful. I'd say that, yeah, definitely, speak to your supervisor, speak to other people in your lab, speak to the EC department. The UBC itself has a lot of ties to companies either in the Lower Mainland or worldwide. So yeah, John, I would say focus your efforts there first, and then most of the time you will be successful. And then if you aren't, then yeah, there's always the alternative of applying online to different job portals.
Yeah, so I would echo on that as well, as like leverage all the network you have and then keep a good relationship with your supervisors. And then also if you are not able to find an internship, it's also maybe also consider like doing some sort of like eng project or course project with with some professors from UBC, because like eventually in the end, if you work with them for like a long time, you will be able to get like reference letter from them that might help you when you apply. That was actually like my case. I was able to get like nice reference letters from 2 different professors that helped a lot. So if you are not able to find an internship, maybe also considering doing a summer course project or like summer research project with some professors just to get some experience instead of like just wasting the summer time for that. Yeah, so I guess that will be it. So focusing on figuring out what will be the things that can help you to improve yourself, or like at least getting you some nice reference letter or just get more experience. That will eventually pay you off when you look for a full-time job afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Lina. I guess I can just give just a few words of what I learned today so far from you guys. Going on an internship is very important and is really advisable. Keeping a good relationship with your supervisor will help you a lot in the long run. Leveraging your network will also be very helpful. And exceptions can be made. So you just have to go a little bit out of your way, talk to more people, and try to convince them or advocate for yourself. If you want to go out of a certain rule or restrictions, because exceptions are there to be broken. I mean, rules are there to be broken, and exceptions can definitely be made. Okay, I guess we can wrap up almost right on time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this panel. Thanks a lot to Lina, Gautam, and Thomas for showing up and sharing with us their experience. Thank you to my partners in crime, the members of the Lightning Talks committee, and thank you, Olivia, from the department for opening this Zoom meeting and being here with us. Elhami, do you want to say something?
Thanks a lot for attendance. I was really pleased to hear every one of you, and we hope we can organize events in the future that's helpful for everyone as well. We're pleased to have you here, and don't forget to check our YouTube channel for other events and this recording of this event as well. And please feel free to contact us if you suggest any ideas or something like that as well. Thanks a lot.